And Cooper Kupp, kudos to him. He really downplayed in his press conference this week the storyline arising from Cooper Kupp facing the team that had cut him, only team he played for. He had the season for the ages in 2021, Super Bowl MVP, although it should have been Aaron Donald. But he hadn't done much this year. It was his lowest output ever in a mostly full season of action. His prior career lows came in a year where I think he maybe played 8 or 10 games. So, he's not as involved offensively as he used to be. And that's one of the reasons why the Rams moved on. They went not younger and cheaper. They went with someone older and more expensive because they just made the assessment that Davante Adams would do more for the offense than Cooper Kupp could at this point. And hey, look at what Davante Adams did this year. They were right about that. But Kupp stepped up. And he had 4 big moments, in my estimation, in the second half. Now, there was a drive after the Rams had cut the score to 24-20, and it's starting to tighten up a little bit after the disastrous muff punt that may be the thing that made the difference in the game. Seahawks get the short field, they score, but the Rams drove down and made it 24-20 after that, because 24-13, it's kind of feeling like night-night time. On that drive after the Rams cut it to 24-20, Kupp had big catch on 3rd and long, and he caught the touchdown that pushed the score to 31-20. So he had a big moment then, and then when it's 31-27 and they're trying to kill the clock, that catch on 3rd and 9. And a lot happened in the moment that Kupp caught the ball and got tackled by the sticks. Sean McVay called timeout and then decided he wanted to challenge the play. And it doesn't take high-level lip-reading skills to know what was going on. He's holding the red flag. He wanted to throw the red challenge flag after he had called timeout. And the officials told him he couldn't do that. And you can see him say, why not? And if he challenged and if he'd failed, he'd have been charged 2 timeouts in that spot. And you could argue, maybe he should have done it anyway. Because, man, it looked close. And I wanted to see frame by frame, was any part of Cooper Kupp's shins, knees, whatever, did anything hit before that last reach of the ball? I think it merited a closer look. And by calling timeout while he was apparently waiting to hear, and Sean Payton has told us in past PFT Live appearances that when it's clear that you need to throw the red flag, you hear 1,000 people in your headset. When it's not, it's crickets, and you got to make the decision. So he was waiting for that final input, and maybe it would have been upheld. But obviously it would have been a critical moment if it's not a first down in that spot. And another thing that wasn't discussed. Now, I think they got it right, but it highlights this very thin line between the normal act of completing a catch while you're on your feet, which of course requires possession of the ball 2 feet down and some act common to the game, but they focus on getting a 3rd foot, even though there are other ways to do it. That's one way. If you're going to the ground, we all know, and we were reminded of it last Saturday in the Bills-Broncos playoff game. You got to maintain possession through going to the ground. Now, what was really going on there with Cooper Kupp? Because he caught it and he's being dragged down. Did he complete the process of making the catch and then get dragged down and become down by contact? That was the ruling on the field. And obviously, for that part of it, because there's 2 aspects that would have been subject to replay review, because when they review it, they look at everything. Did he get the first down? Did he complete the process of catching the pass? And Dean Blandino started down that path, but it was all kind of hectic and unclear what was going on. But it brings back into focus this idea of going to the ground, down by contact. And this was one of the points that we made in the aftermath of the Bills-Broncos game. You can't reconcile the interception on what would have been a Brandon Cooks catch with the interception that was overturned by replay review on December 7th when Aaron Rodgers caught a tip ball and was going to the ground and the ball came out and the Ravens ended up with possession. And the explanation given by the league, if you apply the explanation that was given to defend the decision to turn an interception into a catch, you apply that in other cases, I don't know, maybe it's a catch. That's something we need clarity on. There was a report this week from the Washington Post that the NFL is not going to propose any changes to the catch rule. They think it's clear. And while the rule is arguably clear, and really, how would you change it? How would you improve it? Once you start tinkering with the language, you can create a whole giant mess. But the application and the interpretation and the explanations need to be more clear. And the one thing that I think we need to resolve is when going to the ground, if you're down by contact, are you down when your knee hits, even if you lose possession? I think you're not, and I think it's not a catch. But that may have been embedded in the replay review that never happened in the Rams-Seahawks game because Sean McVay called the timeout and then was trying to throw the red flag. I have a feeling that that will be a talking point coming out of this game because that was a huge moment, and that was a great catch by Kupp. And then later he drew the holding penalty to get a fresh set of downs as the Seahawks were in the process of wrapping up the game. So big night from Cooper Kupp. Not on the stat sheet when you compare what he did to Jackson Smith-Njigba. Smith-Njigba ended up with 10 catches for 153 yards and a touchdown. Cooper Kupp had 4 for 36 and a touchdown. But man, 3 of those catches were gigantic, and the holding penalty that he drew helped as well. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.